In school, we learned about the world before ours, about the angels and gods that lived in the sky, ruling the earth with kind and loving hands. Some say those are just stories, but I don't believe that. The gods rule us still. They have come down from the stars, and they are no longer kind.
I've been preparing to be queen all my life, but not like this. When I started my selection, I didn't expect to find what my parents have, the perfect love story. I never thought I would meet my soulmate in a room full of strangers. But now, I feel like my happily ever after could be right in front of me.
I am Mare, the Lightning Girl, the Red Queen, and no one at all. Silver, but not. Red, but not. A prince's downfall. A thief. A killer. I know what I am and what I must do. For a storm is certainly coming. And I have no idea who will survive to see the dawn.
What would you do if your breakfast was interrupted by the invasion of your country?
I was 14 years old when the German military invaded and attacked Denmark, with practically no resistance.
What if the adults said it was for the best, told you to keep quiet, told you not to resist? But what if those invaders were the mightiest force on Earth? Adolf Hitler's German army.
We young people were very frustrated and furious that the grown-up people didn't do anything.
Knut Petersen, his brother Jens, and a group of teenage classmates mounted their bicycles to confuse, to confound, to disarm, and to sabotage their Nazi occupiers. Every gun stolen from a German officer's holster, every vehicle set on fire, each explosion brought the boys closer to capture and their possible execution. They were the boys that challenged Hitler. Could you do the same?
The first wave only took a few seconds. Thinking about it now, I'm surprised it didn't worry us more. I guess we thought we could fix what happened, but we couldn't. They pulled the plug on us. The first wave took out 500,000 people. The second wave put that number to shame. We live on a restless planet, one that's constantly shifting below the surface. All the others had to do was trigger this already unstable pressure chamber. Goodbye, coastal cities. The third wave took a little longer. There are over 300 billion birds in the world. Thousands of species of them. And birds don't recognize borders. You couldn't invent a more efficient delivery system for a virus. After the third wave, only the unlucky survive. They know how we think. They know how to kill us. They've taken everything worth living for. Now they've come to take the things worth dying for. But I am still here. Because if I am the last one, then I am humanity. And if this is humanity's last war, then I am the battlefield.
The accident season. It means cuts, bruises, breaks, and loss. My grandfather died when I was 6. My father died 2 years later. We lost my uncle too. We know there have been too many tragedies to count. What we don't know is why.
this trench, 6.8 miles deep. Falling into that abyss is like falling from space.
Caden, I'm worried about you. Sometimes it's like you're not even here. It scares me.
Your place is here in the sea's bowl, seeking the treasures of the deep. You're the soul of this voyage, and monsters know it.
Sometimes I wonder what's going on in your head, Caden. What do you see when you close your eyes?
The things I see, the things I feel, can't be put into words. But I will try. There's one thing I know. I will reach the bottom. But the bottom is only the beginning.
Salt to the Sea is set in winter of 1945 and unearths a story of World War II that has been hidden for 70 years. Told through the journey of 4 separate young people, the novel weaves together the population expulsion of East Prussia, the disappearance of the Amber Room treasure, and the tragedy of the German ship, the Wilhelm Gustloff. The sinking of the Wilhelm Gustloff was the single largest maritime disaster in history, larger than both the Titanic and the Lusitania combined. Yet somehow, it's a story that history has opted to forget. During my research, in museums, I found bottles that contained messages that were thrown overboard from some of these refugee ships. And that told me that these souls were desperate for someone, anyone, to know their story. You are that someone. 9,343 people perished on the Wilhelm Gustloff. Each one had a story. Lift their bottles from the water. Please, give them a voice.
Always be the girl in the music box, the one in the glistening tutu with long legs and a perfect pirouette. I will be like a doll come to life, made just for the stage. I will be perfect, because there can only be one prima ballerina.
Some hate us. Some fear us. Some worship us. But all know us. We are the young elites.
For 35 girls, the selection is a chance of a lifetime. The chance to be swept up into a world of glittering gowns and jewels. The chance to win Prince Maxon's heart. I didn't think this is what I wanted. I was content where I was. I was in love. But it turns out, the life I always imagined might not compare to the future I never dreamed of.
How far would you go for family? How far would you go for freedom? How far would you go for power? How far would you go for love? An Ember in the Ashes, a new novel by Sabaa Tahir. Available April 28 in bookstores everywhere.
We're on the scene of what appears to be another epic massacre.
The day my father died was the day I learned to fear. But fear does not define us. Our courage to fight back does. I've seen Steelheart bleed, and I will see him bleed again.
People think time travel sounds so glamorous and exotic, but it's not. It can cause all sorts of dizziness. You've got to learn a bunch of boring history lessons. You can't wear modern makeup. You can't bring your mobile. You're not allowed to tell your friends. Corsets? Enough said. Everything happens at a much slower pace. And your travel partner is a stuck-up, self-centered, know-it-all boy. Which might not be so bad after all. Read all about my adventure in Ruby Red.
What follows is the strange and fateful tale of a boy, a girl, and a ghost. The boy possessed uncommon qualities. The girl was winsome and daring, and the ancient ghost, well, let it only be said that his intentions were good. I am the ancient ghost mentioned at the outset of this tale. As a mortal man, I was known as Jakob Grimm.
Do you think I enjoy seeing you like this? I'm not a fool, little lightning girl. If you're going to play in my head, I'm going to play in yours. You are a weapon I intend to wield. You will kneel before me in my court, bare to your blood, and say exactly what I need. Do you think I want to keep you a prisoner? It doesn't matter. I must. It's the only way you'll stay with me.
Things you don't know about him, Aria.
He hasn't told me anything.
When he lost talent, he lost himself. He hasn't been the same ever since.
So I'd know almost everything about you if I was a Skyer.
Everything and more. You'd even have a fair idea of what I wanted right now.
What would that be?
You closer.
How close?
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage. Rage against the dying of the light. The wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning. They do not go gentle into that good night. Rage. Rage against the dying of the light.
What have we here? The witch and wizard. Go ahead, say something. Don't wait for the movie. Read Witch and Wizard, The Gift by James Patterson.
In my village, there are 2 rules. 1. You must never use magic. And 2. You must never, under any circumstances, enter the thickety, the dark forest that surrounds us. If you break either one of these rules, the punishment is immediate and dire. I'm about to break both.
Samurai Rising is not for the faint of heart. In this epic work of non-fiction, a samurai fights for honor and survival in a real-life Game of Thrones. Yoshitsune grew up skinny and small. He was trained to be a monk, not a warrior. But he did inherit his family pride and tenacity, and when the time came for the Minamoto to rise up against their enemy, Yoshitsune was there. Author Pamela S. Turner first encountered Yoshitsune's story while living in Japan. He reminded her of King Arthur and Luke Skywalker, except, of course, that he was real. Pam is the author of many award-winning books and a black belt in Kendo, The Way of the Sword. Illustrator Gareth Hines sketched legendary scenes from Yoshitsune's life back in college. He was thrilled to return to 12th century Japan in Samurai Rising, this time illustrating Yoshitsune's real-life adventures. Gareth is the illustrator of highly acclaimed graphic novel adaptations of the classics, and he's also a third-degree black belt in Aikido. This talented and deadly duo met for the first time at a library conference in San Francisco. They signed advanced copies of Samurai Rising for a long line of excited teachers and librarians, and they talked about Samurai Rising.
I lived in Japan for about 6 years, and when I was there I read about Japanese history and literature, and this is drawn from a great work of Japanese literature called The Tale of the Heike, and it's a true story of these 2 samurai clans locked in this titanic battle for control of the country. And Yoshitsune is my favorite character in it because he has such a dramatic life. There's a lot of parallels with young Luke Skywalker. He grows up in obscurity, becomes a great hero, and then discovers that his greatest enemy is actually someone very close to him.
In college, I was in art school, and I was researching Japanese mythology and folklore and history for an art project, and I came across a lot of these kind of mythological stories about Yoshitsune's young life, and I was very taken by that, and I used a lot of that material in this art project. And then later on, I learned a little bit more about his real life, but then it was really fascinating to read this book and really learn more about the whole arc of his life and how he became such a great general.
What a group we were. All of us hunted and haunted by tragedy. All of us begging for a chance at a new life. And me, at the center of it all. We were strangers until we became family. And the message to our family was clear. Run for your lives.
Here's what you need to know about The Rest of Us Just Live Here. First off, who is Patrick Ness? He's this handsome fellow. He lives in England, but grew up in Seattle, so he's kind of like a hybrid. He's written a lot of best-selling and award-winning books, like A Monster Calls and the Chaos Walking trilogy. But The Rest of Us Just Live Here is totally different. It's about this group of friends who aren't the chosen ones, or the indie kids as they're known in the book. They aren't destined to fight evil, or save the world, or fall in love with the sexy vampire/werewolf/fairy next door. They just want to hang out, go to prom, and graduate high school. But when the four friends find themselves being drawn into the drama usually reserved for indie kids, they realize that they may have to find the extraordinary in their ordinary lives. Oh, and one of them is the god of cats. The Rest of Us Just Live Here is wholly original, wonderfully weird, and definitely a book you should read.
This is Terry Pratchett. He was knighted by the Queen for services to literature. He wrote a series called Discworld, which has over 40 satirical fantasy books, short stories, and science novels. So what's a Discworld? It's a world made up of a flat disk of continents and oceans balanced on 4 giant elephants that are standing on the back of an enormous turtle who's slowly swimming through space. Since it's a fantasy series, a lot of different people live on the disk. There's even some normal people. Okay, not that normal. And then there's young witch Tiffany Aching. When she was 9, she befriended the Nak-Mak-Feegle, a clan of pixies. No, not those. These. They fight and drink and steal sheep. The Shepherd's Crown is the last book that Sir Terry wrote, and in it, Tiffany, the Feagles, and some witches have to defeat invading fairies. Sound like a disc you'd like to explore? You can start with just about any book. But we'd recommend The We Free Men to begin your journey to Discworld with Tiffany. So pick one up and dive right in. Just don't swim off the disc.
living with a secret, bound by duty, working to taste freedom. A prince, searching for answers, unprepared to rule his kingdom, or fall in love. A beauty, reigning with an iron fist, willing to do anything to rule Earth. Cinder, the epic first novel in the Lunar Chronicles.
Scarlet is on her own and determined to find her missing grandmother. But can she really trust the one person who says he can help her? And for Cinder, everything has changed. She's on the run, and the Queen will stop at nothing to find her. Will the fate of her friends come down to this mysterious stranger? Scarlet, the second book in the Lunar Chronicles. Find us on Facebook to learn more.
High above Earth, Cress has been watching and waiting.
Authorities continue their search for fugitives Lynn Cinder and Carswell Thorne.
The time for Cress to act is now. By helping Cinder stop the Queen, she'd earn her freedom, but at a price that's higher than she ever imagined. Sides must be chosen, and the stakes are nothing less than the fate of the world. Cress, Book 3 in the Lunar Chronicles. Find us online to join the adventure.
My life spiraled out of control, and before I knew it, I was owned by Crank. Then your life isn't yours anymore. The harder you try to control it, the more it slips away. Then you see your kids through the glass.
We hear that life was good before she met the monster. Christina wrote that chapter of her history before we were even whispers in her womb.
The monster shaped our lives without our ever touching it. Read on if you dare. This memoir isn't pretty.
Look very long at Christina. I see me, me, me.
Somebody once told me that I will discover secrets on my own, that I must follow my heart to make the right choices that will lead me to my destiny. And most importantly, never, ever cry.
You think it's so easy to change yourself. You think it's so easy, but it's not. I was born to be unpopular. I thought I could change things this year if I tried hard enough, but it turns out I was kidding myself. It's impossible to change who you are. And I didn't like who I was until I stumbled into an underground club. No one there knew me. They didn't know I wasn't cool or that no one liked me. I made friends in that club. I had fun. And when the DJ pulled me into the booth and let me fade into a new song, I felt alive for the first time. That song saved my life.
I couldn't sleep.
I know.
Are you leaving? Answer me. Are you leaving?
Yes.
Take me with you.
Lighters, cell phones, or two-way radios of any kind. This is also where you come to get your meds, to keep you breathing, sane, antidepressed, whatever.
Welcome to Sword and Cross.
You ready for a throwdown reform school style?
Yeah!